Welcome to another episode of Roses Are Red podcast with your host, Mrs. Red Rose, her co-host, Sam I Am from the Married Couple Podcast, and AC from Midnight Media.
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome.
What's up? What's up?
We have a special guest tonight. Sean Davis is going to share his story tonight. But before we get into that and I want to make sure that we kind of go everything and if we have any recaps or anything on any of our stories before we go into our story. But
yeah, it's been a while since we've all been here together, hasn't it? I mean, Rose, you had some things go on in your life, and AC also, and me too. Sometimes I had a birthday, so
happy birthday, Sam.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I finally, Rose, AC, and I are finally the same age again.
For a little bit.
I'm the last to turn 45. It's fine, but But we had, we've had, it's that time of year where things are going to be a little wonky, but we're all together today, and I'm excited to have you on the show, Sean. I'm really interested to hear, your whole story and, get it out there so other people can hear. AC, are you ready, or do you want me to keep killing time?
No, killing time. Well, first of all, welcome everyone.
Yes, welcome everyone.
A total of 2 people watching right now because we do a live podcast. So we have to thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, 2 people. What we have to do is we have to allow some people to trickle in, so we don't want to give the game a little bit too early. But it's been obviously quite daunting. Since my friend Brandon died on the 12th of November. I'll recap a little bit about that kind of slowly as people kind of trickle in, but I missed the rally that they had at the city hall. So they had Justice for Brandon. Let me hold up the t-shirt. So we got this t-shirt at the Candlelight Vigil, which was the week after that, but there's Brandon in his shirt. And it says, they will kill you in your home. Not every cop, but this cop.
Nope, that cop.
Okay. And that's all we want. We just want this cop to pay for killing a husband, a father, a wonderful pillar of the community. You just didn't know what you did, Alexander. You just didn't know what you did. You didn't know what you took from us. So I'm going to show a little bit about the press conference that we did, that I did along with his family and his wife, Rachel. And it's been crazy because that was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was the easiest thing because it just had nothing prepared. Nothing prepared. I went right from the cuff, and since I missed the first talk, I felt like I missed so much of it. He didn't have a voice, my voice, talking through him, so I felt really guilty I wasn't able to talk for him. And when I did, it went kind of crazy. You saw it on the news, right, Sam? You saw me on the news?
Yeah, even read the article that they wrote.
Yeah, it's a motherfucker. And
for anybody who doesn't know, and for you, Sean, back on November 12th. Brandon had called. He was being home invaded. He said, "There's somebody breaking into my home. I'm in the bathroom. I put my daughter's here. I'm afraid for my life." And as the police got there, he wasn't sure what weapon, but a knife was brought into play. He and a neighbor had described the intruder, what they were wearing, and in full detail. As the cop comes in, Brandon was in a tussle with the intruder, had holding the knife away from him, trying to subdue the intruder, and was in his underwear. It was like midnight or something when it happened. And as the cop came in, he said, "Drop the knife." And not even a second later, he shot Brandon in the head and then proceeded to shoot him 5 more times. So as he was on the ground.
As he went down, and then he stood over him and said, "Don't get
move."
up."
Yeah.
In front of his daughter, I'm assuming.
His daughter was in her bedroom, thank God.
Thank God.
However, I mean, it was horrific. we have done a couple of shows regarding it because it needed to get out there. Watching the body cam footage, anyone who watches it, especially because we knew him, I lost it. It was just insane. It didn't make any sense. He didn't even give them time to react. So this is why
he couldn't have done anything anyway. He couldn't have followed the command because he didn't have the knife.
Right. Well, exactly.
So it's ridiculous.
You didn't even get a chance.
Yeah, and obviously the person in their underwear is not the person that's robbing the house.
And the person that, as the cop parked in front of his house, which I've been to a billion times, he said the perpetrator's in the red hoodie.
Yeah.
And
and a neighbor had called and said, there's somebody in a red hoodie smashing car windows outside. I mean, this was, there was a lot going on, not just the
information.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, he knew, cop knew exactly who Brandon was because he was at his house yesterday, the day before.
Yeah.
So he met him.
Yeah, the same cop before the same perpetrator because Brandon wanted this person off of his property. He did not, they were trespassing this person, and they said if you come back, you're in trouble. And so that cop, Alexander Bookman, had taken that report and said, "Do you want me to do this?" And he said yes. And he comes back and so we don't know why.
Do you think that? I mean, obviously, you weren't there, but do you think there was a reason that like he would have had some kind of vendetta against him? I mean, like was the cop just trying not to do his job and he was like, "No, I want you to do this," and then he's like just kind of irritated that he has to do his job? Or I'm just making us, because it's kind of weird that like a day before or whatever that he's there, he obviously would recognize the situation. I mean, I get if like it's bang bang, both people were kind of dressed up the same, something happens. I still really don't even get that. But the fact that like the guy's in his underwear fighting somebody and trying to hold the knife, and you not only did you shoot him, you shot him again 5 more times. I mean, what is it they say in most documentaries? If it turns into like 5, 6 shots or stabs, like it's usually like a vendetta. Like there's no reason to just stand over somebody. And
especially when the first shot was a headshot. I mean, and
oh yeah, I didn't know that neither.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry it happened. I mean, I'm glad that I'm hearing about it, so now I can start to kind of push for it and pay attention to it too.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was senseless. It's absolutely senseless. I don't know if I can give. For some reason, I'm not getting sound. Let's see if this works. If not, it's okay. We'll do it some other time. Window. Let's see if Telegram desktop will allow me to do that.
No sound.
No sound.
I can feel it though.
Yeah.
Can you feel that?
Yeah, I can feel it.
You want to send it, see if me and Sam could try to pull it up?
Yep. It's in, let me forward it to you on Telegram. Forward, make sure that to play it to see that it has sound. Because it was shared to me with no sound, but Telegram fixed it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. So here is Roses Are Red, and then there you go.
Is it on?
It looks like it's missing a driver or something, and like Telegram just like automatically fixed it. VLC didn't fix it, but let's see. Go ahead.
Let me see if I can. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
Hold on. Yeah. It came up with sound on mine. I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You don't have to play it from the beginning either. You can do it from wherever
When
you
he
want.
just played it, it came up with sound on yours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, mine didn't.
Well, what happened is I could hear it through my headset.
Okay.
And so
Therefore,
how do I open this in a new window?
Right. That might be the issue when you open in a new window.
Hold on.
I can say about that story too, man. Like, I don't know if you can tell I got a little watery-eyed, but with my situation and like how I woke up, like my father wasn't there. It didn't even happen in the house. So a part of me is always gonna like feel more sentimental for that girl that's literally in the house while her dad's not only like fighting, but fighting to protect her.
And the cop, like, I'm not going to play it again, but the cop is, pointing at him,
Yeah,
and
let's not.
her room is right behind him. So he's protecting his 15-year-old daughter. He's asking for help. He's in his boxers. I mean, I don't know how else you can possibly prove you're going to show him a fucking light bill.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I live here, dog. So sorry,
not
I get a little
right out of the situation, but I think of the Dave Chappelle joke where he's like, I've seen this before. He broke in and hung pictures of him and his family around the house. It's like,
look at him.
Like,
He sprinkled crack over him.
yeah, sprinkled crack. Yeah, man, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's a bitch. So blunts and tequila. It's pretty much just
Yeah.
I'm having issues. So let's put a pin in this, and if we can figure it out.
Yeah. It's okay. But I mean, you saw my face. I was not, they called me up and I was like, I spoke after it was the leader it was Rachel, and then the leader of the NAACP Vegas chapter, and which was the tall guy that on the thing. And I mean, it was powerful enough for everybody. Was like, whoa, like this guy just gave us raw emotion, at the end I was like, I just have nothing left. I don't know.
Right.
That's it. I'm done here. Like, goodbye.
Is it posted somewhere too that
no, I can put it on YouTube. I'll put it on YouTube. Yeah, I'll put it on YouTube, and maybe I'll do it during the show. Maybe I'll have time at the end.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But welcome everybody. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
We got a bigger count now, and people keep trickling in. But if you have questions or comments, allow us to set up the story. We're gonna go chronological, if that's okay with you, Sean.
Yeah.
We want to know, especially Sam and I and Rose were like, we want to know what it was like from the beginning, what it was like to grow up where you grew up, what your dad was like in the beginning, what kind of a father was he, how you felt about him. Give us all that. And
Tell us some of the stories you told on, the things you love about, the things you remember that, are, wonderful. And then we'll kind of get into what happened. But, we kind of, we want to know the man behind this story as well.
Yeah. You want to set him up, but also like, we know you're on TikTok, and that has it's a smaller format, right? Mm-hmm. So this is for you to express yourself however the hell you want.
Yeah.
A long format so you can explain it how you want in your own words. There's no time limit. There's no hurry. So, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with y'all's like guidance on it, because like I've said multiple times on my TikTok, I got bad ADHD. I don't know what I'm doing on there. I'm just basically every single story I posted on there was just to get the sketch out, which I always point to. It's just like that's the only thing I really have going for it. I don't know why, what to say there. The only reason is to just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. And thank you, Allison, for that. But I mean, I don't know. I appreciate y'all for kind of having some kind of a format and a structure to everything, because I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say. I have so much stuff to say.
We got you.
It's tough.
Grief is a bitch.
Kind of go on.
Yeah, grief is a bitch. Just we're here to help and help you make the story make sense, however you want to make sense of it. So, where were you born? What was your dad like? What was your first memory of your dad?
Okay, yeah. So I was born Morehead City, North Carolina. My father was born in New York. Really happy family, really good family. We grew up in a trailer park. We didn't have a whole lot. He worked at I don't know what it's considered. It was Coral Bay Marina, but it was basically he took care of boats and like wash boats. And you know how anybody that's ever owned a boat, that like there were a lot of maintenance, especially, you got to keep them in the water, out the water. You just kind of a whole lot of stuff. So he worked there for a very long time. I want to say around the age of 10. And around the age of 10, I found out they were getting a divorce. I really feel like, and I know a lot of this was blurred up, and I think that I kind of mixed it a little bit up. I really haven't talked about it, asked questions to my mom about it, but I want to say it was like really close to Halloween or on Halloween, because I remember I went to Halloween, I was like crying the whole time. It was like this little haunted house spot, but I didn't know the reason why, and which kind of added a little bit more difficulty. After the separation, my dad kind of struggled with things like with me, I know I'm probably bouncing all over the place, but with me, my brother and my sister, he loved us and adored us. So me and my brother are his biological kids. I'm the youngest out of 3. My older sister is my half sister. She has a different dad, but my father took it upon himself with everybody's approval to adopt my sister and basically take her on with everything else. So my dad took care of her 16th, I'm sure, like with her first period, I'm sure all that stuff, first boyfriend, everything. And he was 100% her father. He looked at her the same way as he looked at us. So when they split up, it wasn't that the marriage wasn't going good. It was that it just wasn't in the cards for him. So as I was talking to them a little bit before about, and I was just kind of weird about saying it because you know how much people can have views on certain things, but what it ultimately became the reason of the divorce is that my dad was gay and just hid it his whole entire life. I mean, he wanted to deny it. He didn't want to be gay. It's just some people are born that way. And it's not that he hated anybody else. He just wanted the life and he didn't want to do anything to alter the life that he already had. He worked his butt off. He came home. He cleaned the house. He took care of the lawn, like everything. Like I said, we grew up in a trailer, but it was like a clean, like built up trailer. And after that, he basically fought to see the kids. Understandably, my mom was really broken up about it because that was the love of her life. And so she felt some type of way about it. And she felt like maybe she could change them and things like that. And it wasn't in the cards.
Sean, when did you know that he was gay?
I want to say I found out when I was like 13. And
what tipped it off?
I think my mom broke it down to me to talk to me about it. I know I found out after my brother. But she, I think, kind of had to because he started dating a guy from Thailand, and he wanted us to kind of meet him. The guy was really, really nice, but he was a lot of people from Thailand, he was really touchy-feely, and I wasn't comfortable with it. And my dad wasn't comfortable with me not being comfortable with it. We brought it up to him, and then he broke up with the guy. They still became friends. I still saw him when I was down visiting my dad. He did like henna tattoos and stuff. And we never had like an issue with him, but he understood it. And it was like understandable breakup. Like my dad's like, it doesn't mean I don't care about you, but my kids come first. And that was always my father's mentality. He always wanted to make everybody else happy. Every story through his whole entire life was always just, he was goofy, really, really goofy, and really easily embarrassed. So
Turn red.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's so many stories, and I brought up some of them. I was doing them during the weekends where like he tried to one time tell a girl, like a girl was broke down in the street. So he like attached like I guess the toe strap or whatever to his bumper, and he tried to kind of pull her and tow her somewhere, and it ripped his back bumper off, and he was so embarrassed he just kept driving, left his bumper there. It was like, I'm not going back. Like, yeah, it's the stories of him picking up hitchhikers, which everybody's like, dude, you can't pick up hitchhikers, and they'd pee in the front seat of his car. Like, I'm like, dude, like you can't be. But that's just the kind of guy he was. Even at the convenience store that he was killed at, the Pantry off Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. There was a story where a woman came in there and she was like, look, like I have no money. I don't want to steal from you. And my dad didn't have money. My dad, at the time he passed away, he worked at the pantry store most of the night. I want to say he got off at like 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 or 5 in the morning, he would go after there, deliver newspapers, and then he would come pick me up because I moved out of district for the school. I was in Sacristy district, but all my friends, they built St. James, which is another high school there. And all my friends
football.
I didn't play football there.
Come on, your shoulders are too broad.
Yeah,
And play football,
I played semi-pro after, for sure.
There we go.
Yeah, I hated school when I went to school, and that was another thing is he like fought me to like stay in school, and I started doing better. But so he would come home, take me to school. He would come back, and then he had a car detailing business on the side that was like his own thing. So then he would go car detail people when he had that, and then he would turn around, go home, maybe get a couple hours of sleep, come pick me back up from school, drop me back off, go grab me, usually because I was a little brat. It's like the first time I ever had somebody I feel like that would do anything for me, because it's the first time I lived with him. And he would go grab me like chicken wings. Like the night that he passed away, he went and got me a bunch of teriyaki chicken wings for dinner and brought them back. And then I was going through a situation where I didn't want to go to school, and I don't know if like I even went and talked to somebody. I don't know if it was pretending to be sick, or if when I was like talking to like a doctor and stuff like that, they were saying that if you don't want to go to, like, say you don't want to go to school enough, you want to be sick enough, you'll really make yourself sick. So it's like psychologically your body will start reacting and you'll start being sick. And he was like, you know, like, how are you feeling? Da da da. Because his biggest interest was me being successful at life. That's why I was there, you know. And so he would go do that chicken wings and then go straight back to work. He lived his life, and I probably will grab the stuff in a minute, but I have like the police report, the autopsy, stuff like that, and like the amount of caffeine that he had in his bloodstream is ridiculous. But he would, I would say, average maybe 2 hours of sleep a day.
Wow.
And it
So
was
you're saying-
always, and he had nothing. He had no money. He had anything, but I had shoes on my feet, like nice shoes. I had nice shorts. I had like everything, because that was like, he was like, I can only imagine how empty his bank account was.
He
And
lived for you kids, or
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
and,
He lived for you,
and
for
for
you.
everybody, like anybody that needed anything. And that's why it was so hard for me to understand, because he was robbed for $43. Like if you would have just asked for the $43, he would have gave you the money and wrote it down on his tab. Like it's not like it's so important to him for everybody else to be happy around him. And I mean, the only way I came to try to understand, because I don't know how everybody else is, but as much as I've gone through, I still constantly believe in God. I don't go to church as much as I should, but it was really, really hard for me to understand like why this would happen. Like everything was finally going good. Like it was giving me a chance at life. And then he was just taking it. He was such a good person. And the only reason I could think is that he was just too good for the world. Like it was just like he's done enough. He's given enough. It's time for him to go and just celebrate. And like, cause he would have never, ever like thought of himself in any situation. I don't care if he was 80 years old. It would have still been about everybody else. And like, he would not let himself be happy. His happiness was everybody else being happy.
Everybody else, yeah. It's 3
Yeah.
people.
And
Mhm.
I know my ADHD kind of took a side course, but what I was going to say is the other story is like, the woman came in there. She's like, I don't want to steal. I just don't have money. I have kids. We're hungry. Is there anything you can do? And he walked, and I mean, it's a convenience store, so like there's not a whole lot you can get, but I think there's like bread in there. He walked in and grabbed canned foods, the bread, the little things you can grab, snacks, and created a tab, put it on his tab, which again, he did not have money. So that means he's basically not getting paid, and sent her out with groceries. Like, and this is the same guy that was killed for $43.
Allison says, sounds like a great man.
He was an amazing person. Thank you, Allison. Very,
So-
very person.
So it sounds
Where
like, I'm
was
sorry.
it? Oh,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was going to say a statement that it sounds like even though you guys had a meager home and everything, it wasn't for lack of trying, and it wasn't
Yeah.
for lack of he wasn't on drugs. He wasn't like, other than caffeine, he
Yeah.
wasn't, like, you know what I mean? He didn't have any serious vices. This vice was making sure that everybody around him was good.
He
And his
didn't have
kids were,
time to do anything. Yeah.
and his kids were good. So I'm sorry, Rose. Yeah.
no, I wanted to know, where was your dad? Like, was it his mom and dad the same way as he was? Very taking care, very nurturing, very loving.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the reason I'm trying to remember if he moved to Myrtle Beach first, I think. And then my grandmother and my grandfather got lung cancer, and he wanted to stay. I actually just heard this story recently. My grandfather wanted to stay in the house that they built. They built this house, which was right at the edge of our trailer park. It was an actual house, may have been a trailer turned into a house, but it had their name written in the concrete when the concrete was put down. There was just so much like memory there. And my grandfather was a really quiet person. He was ex-military, but he worked at it was some kind of a port. It was like in Beaufort, North Carolina, but it was basically where big ships come in. They bring like hauls of like dirt, cargo, all kinds of stuff out of there. I just remember going there. That's one of the reasons why I still love French toast sticks, because my grandma would take me to like Burger King. I'd get French toast sticks, and then we would go over there on his like lunch break or whatever, which was really like 6 o'clock in the morning. So, but he was really quiet person. All I can really remember is that he always had a head of like dark hair, Native American, which is really weird because I checked my ancestry and like we are all dark skin complected, and that doesn't come up there. But he's like really, really dark, like black hair, but really quiet. And they definitely took care of all of us, got me into football when I was young. And
I knew it.
yeah, right. Yeah. And then so I didn't play in school. I was too busy getting in trouble. Like I started getting in trouble really, really young. Just like fights and stuff. I just fought a lot. I think it was a lot of me just the neighborhood that I grew up in, this trailer park where I grew up in, turned into like a really ghetto, ripped up trailer park. And it was basically like all about respect and just things like that kind of getting put in your head. My dad was like gone now, and I'm living with my mom. And then I love my mom to death. She's a great person, but she got into drugs, and it was just I'm sure a lot of it has to do with her trying to cope with what happened. I know that him being gay and that situation turning into that just ripped her apart.
So I'm sorry, Sean, your mom, when did she find out again? So
she knew when he brought it up to her. So when the separation.
She had a feeling.
Okay.
So, I don't think he just came to her and was like, hey, like, I can't keep living this lie, basically, from my understanding, and was like, I'm gay. And she I don't want to put her business all out there, but she like basically stripped down at one point, like just trying to get him to like stay. And he was like, I'm gay.
Not doing it. Yeah, it's just who you are. So, and then she tried to kind of say, you know what, I can fix this. I can maybe change you. I can. So, okay. And then how did you feel when you found out your dad was gay?
I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it now, but as any male child would, like, that's your father. He's supposed to be a manly, like you want to talk and brag about how manly he is and stuff like that. That's not what you want to hear. I already knew when I go to school, like I was really embarrassed to bring it up. Just because you don't want to get picked on, or then people are going to be like, oh, you're gay because your dad's gay. And, stuff like that. It's just anything a child's going to deal with. And, I think now, even the more grown I am, like I maybe pick and choose more than I should of how I bring it up, just because not that I'm embarrassed or ashamed of him. I'm scared of what's going to happen if somebody reacts, because I know that if somebody talks bad about my father, like for a split second, that I'm not going to react in a responsible way.
Right.
So I'm just kind of on guard of him, protect him. And I guess ultimately that becomes selfish, because I should just be like, whatever, dude, and just walk off. But I'm not ever going to be like that with him.
That's not how feelings work.
No.
Right.
He sounds like an amazing man, and to protect his legacy, I get that.
Yeah.
And let's be real, back then when he did come out to you, I mean, it wasn't as accepted as it is now. Now people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? But back then it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and even then was more progressive from when I was, young. So we've thankfully grown, but hopefully, I mean, people are dicks and they shouldn't say anything. So if they do,
did you get picked on? Did anybody actually go through with that?
Nobody. So actually, I know a lot of people knew when I moved there when I was 14, I believe. And it honestly just turned into like reaction. I went there to spend a week, and then I was like, I'm gonna spend the summer. And then I was like, hey, I'm gonna do a school year here. And then I'm like, I'm gonna do all high school here.
I live here.
Yeah. So, but I would tell all my friends that his boyfriend, because we lived with his boyfriend at the time. When he passed away, they split up, but we lived with him at the time, and I just called him my Uncle Joe. And I know it's a 2-bedroom house. I've got one of the bedrooms. I'm sure people make assumptions. But
Sean, I'm from Miami, Florida.
Okay.
I got men that are my aunts. I know every type of spectrum of person that you could possibly imagine from very early on. That was never something that was even a problem. But I can imagine how much, especially when you were in North Carolina at that time, that must have been an extremely hard thing. So I'm sorry. So this is a different. So this is his boyfriend Joe. Who? When did Joe come into the picture?
So they started dating. I believe maybe like a year before I moved there or so. And Joe was he worked at the hospital. He did like the blood work and stuff like that. But Joe had a really big problem with drinking, which is why they ended up breaking up. Joe needed a liver transplant. And he was supposed to not drink anymore. So my dad, he would act like he's not drinking, and then my dad would catch like him with like a bottle of liquor in his car or something like that. And my dad's like, "Look, dude, you're killing yourself. Like, I'm not going to be able to stand here and watch." Which makes the story so much more heartbreaking because Joe and him loved each other, and we moved out. We moved into like the projects of like this all we could really afford. I'm sure that Joe was still helping, but my dad was trying to like do his own thing, and probably in a spot of kind of trying to make like prove his point, like, hey, look, like this is over if you don't take care of yourself. So Joe started doing a whole lot better, and then when the day he died, which is really terrible, and I'm sorry for Joe that this happened because Joe took care of me too. Like anything that like I'm sure a lot of money I got for my birthday, Christmas, clothes, everything was most likely from Joe because Joe made really good money. And
So Joe loved you. Joe loved you too.
Absolutely. He loved my dad, and he took me into his house, you know. So even afterwards, like Joe was like really worried about me and everything. And what happened is my grandma, I think, or somebody called Joe, and he was at the hospital working and said what happened. Joe fell out. Joe called me. I woke up on the couch because we had a 1-bedroom little condo that was, like I said, in like the projects. And I was really cool with sleeping on the couch. So like I love sleep. I still sleep on the couch a lot of times. But I didn't mind it. So I was sleeping on the couch, and it really sucks because the night of, my dad called me and he was like, "Are you going to go to school in the morning?" And I got like really like offensive. I was like, "Yes." And I like hung up like mad because I didn't want to go to school, but I knew that he wanted me to go to school. Earlier in the day, I wanted to go to school, but like closer to tonight, I'm like, nah, I'd rather just sleep in, you know? And that was the last thing that I said to him. And I had a bunch of really weird dreams that night, like just really like out of the norm dreams. And I woke up to Joe calling, and he was like, "Hey, is your grandma there?" And I was like, "Why would my grandma be here?" And then he hung up. And then I'm like sitting there thinking, I'm like, dude, it's like 7:30 in the morning. Like he's supposed to be here at 7 to pick me up to take me to school. Like, why isn't he here? So I start calling his phone, and it just keeps going to voicemail, 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 voicemail. And then I like moved to where we had 2 chairs by the window, and we had like a little patio, but it had a big like privacy fence around it. And I see the door open up, and my grandma comes rushing through, and I instantly knew. I was like, I opened the door and I was like, "What happened?" And she was just bawling, crying, and she was like, "He's gone, he's gone, he's gone." And then that's how I found out. And then Joe, before I even saw him, he went to the post office and got to pick up his mail, and he just had a letter from my dad saying that like he was proud of how much better he was doing and that he wanted to get back together.
Wow.
And then eventually, a year almost to the date in September, my dad died in October 23rd. And in September, Joe had his liver transplant. And from my understanding, he came out of surgery, was completely coherent, was like on his way to recovery, about to go out the door, and then just instantly died. And
Oh
in
my
my
gosh.
theory, that's dying from a broken heart. Like, I don't think he had anything to live for anymore.
How long were they together?
I don't really want to like be wrong about it, but I would say like at least like 3 years, I believe, because I lived there for a year and a half, and they were together, and I want to say it was like a year and a half before that. But I was really young, up to like I was up to best. My dad was like a really good person, that's why I was there. But like, I mean, before I moved there, I was like getting in fights in school. I was selling weed, like all kinds of things. So,
Oh wow.
To just kind of put it out there, you know, like I was, I was in teen court when I was in middle school for fighting. Like I was it's called homebound, I believe, where a teacher had to start coming to my school or like to my house. And I was so embarrassed of the house that I lived in at the time with my mom after my dad was gone that I would go stay at my sister's because it was like a cleaner trailer, and they would come over there. And basically she would teach me for like 2 hours, 3 hours, I think, 3 times a week. And then I had to get a cop to pick me up and take me to do like my intergrade test. I think I missed like half the school year from being suspended before they finally were like, hey, like you need to do this homebound thing. So when I went there, like I was really behind on school. I didn't want to do school. I hated school. Like I was on my own like thing. And when I went there and started kind of like feeling like things were different, I guess, and like anything, I turned into almost like a spoiled brat because I kind of feel like I missed out on a lot of things. But it was like any pair of shoes I wanted, he found a way to get them for me. Any pair, like an Xbox, like he would get it for me. Like all these things. And then it turned into I'm gonna stay here for the summer. And then like it was like, let's go clothes shopping. And I'm like, dude, for the first time I got all these clothes and like things before. It's like not to take anything from my mom, like she had a lot of really, really, really terrible things happen to her. Like she was a mail lady and they make you, I don't know if anybody knows like postal workers, but they are treated so terribly, like so terribly.
It's a federal government job. So
yeah, she was forced to work. One, she had to use her own car and she was forced to work during like a really bad storm. Like they would make them work during hurricanes, everything. And she was in a really bad storm. A car spun out, hit her. She went into a ditch. She got her neck all messed up, had to have neck surgery. She was out of work and they fired her basically for it. So then she sued the post office.
I was about to say, like, the post office eventually, she got a settlement?
Yeah, which is, and of course, settled out. And which is even worse because my grandfather, her dad, retired from the same postal, like, service. Wow. So it's like you knew two different generations and like y'all still fired her off of obviously things. And I don't know, I was still kind of younger at the time, so I don't know if some of it, like maybe she wasn't going back in a reasonable time. Maybe she was kind of doing what I was doing and like making excuses not to go back, you know. But either way, it was like one hit after another hit after another hit, and they didn't pay her good. I want to say they paid her like, I think it was like 20 grand, which would probably been better than a year, but it's like, I could not even imagine trying to pay anything with $20,000 and to be worked as hard as they were and as much as they were. And her just kind of trying to keep us out of trouble. And she's trying to go to work. And then I'm not trying to go to school, or I'm fighting somebody in school and I'm getting suspended. So she has to come back and pick me up. And it was just like, I can only imagine, But
your dad was going through the same thing at the time, right? Well, you weren't lashing out as much with your dad, right? You were a better student.
He wasn't. I don't know if he was not allowed to be around as much, but I know that he was, I think, living in like Raleigh, North Carolina for a while. And then I think that he lost his license to a DWI. And so he moved to South Carolina to get his license. So now technically he drive in North Carolina or something, was like just basically so he could be able to like run around and do his like regular stuff. And it was a really bad like spot. I don't want y'all to think that he was an alcoholic, because he went through like a time to where, and I know it was a lot to do with his life just not being fair. You know, like he basically had to rip his family apart to like try to find happiness.
Be happy.
We had to live his truth.
I think it bothered. I mean, I remember one time at him like knocking on my door, and like you could tell he was drunk, and my mom was like, no, you're not coming in. He was like, I just want to see my kids, stuff like that. So I know that was like the biggest part in that. But like I said, when I lived with him, it was completely different. But during that time frame, we didn't talk to him much, but more on the phone. So I don't think
it sounds like both sides of your family really loved you guys and tried to do everything.
Oh yeah,
in different ways.
Give you everything. Just
my mom would die for me.
They loved you. They just couldn't be loved, all together. But they loved you in separate ways, and it sounds like you had, beautiful people that loved you.
One of the stories, real quick, one of the stories I remember you saying in your TikToks is when you had gotten money for your birthday and you were really into surfing, and that you love that, you were like, you kind of threw a fit because you've been being spoiled, but but you went to go surfing and whatever, and your dad showed up with the surfboard you wanted because you didn't have enough money. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, knowing that he just, he would do anything for you is just lovely.
I believe, and I always get, I was just putting this on the side note. I always get really weird about saying stuff like this because I don't ever want to seem like I'm taking shots at my mom. Even the other day when I like made a post, I was like coming from somebody that was very underprivileged. That was like for a fundraiser for kids. I was like, this is extremely important to me because my buddy was throwing a fundraiser. And I get weird about saying that because I'm scared that my mom's going to think that I'm like taking a shot at her or something. And that's not it at all. Like she just had so many obstacles to try to jump at one time. It's just, I don't feel like I would have been able to do it myself neither. But that being said, like the last birthday present I got when I was living with my parents was when I was 14 years old, and it was a go-kart that was supposed to be put together, and it never ended up getting put together. And that was the last gift that I got for any like celebration until I moved in with my dad. So my aunt would try to do stuff. My aunt Robin was a really big part of my life. My aunt Linda, stuff like that, which is why Aunt Linda's why I'm in Houston. But that being said, it's like I went there and like $200 is what I got for my birthday, and $200 is a really, really big deal because I was like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was like I wanted cash. He's like, here's $200, like you can buy whatever you want, you know, stuff like that. And then we got to the surf shop and a surfboard, which would never fly these days. Surfboards are like even used
$1,000.
Yeah, all the way up. Like I got one board that was brand new, put together was like $1,300. Like it's so ridiculous. And you may break it the first time you go surfing. Like they're fiberglass. Yeah. So yeah, it was like I think it was like $280. And he's like, look, and now that I'm older, you know, I realize like he probably really did not have any money in his bank account. He probably had to go figure out like a way to maybe go to Joe or something. But I was like, that's the board I want. That's the board I want. It was an amazing board, by the way. But
what type of board it was?
It was from Village Surf Shop, which is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I don't know if it was their shape, but I always called it my Village surfboard.
Some great surf shops in that area.
Yeah.
You got a lot of coasts, a lot of good surfing. And
nowadays, I heard that when I talked to one of my buddies, he's like, they completely ruined the surf here. So I'm glad, North Carolina still gets better swell, but South Carolina evidently is like ruined on it. But it was like $280. I went there. I was like real mad, just throwing a fit. Like that's what I wanted. I don't want anything else kind of thing. And I was being a brat because it's like I've never been treated like that, you know? So it felt like I was kind of like, hey, now I get to kind of have things that other kids have had, you know what I mean? Like waking up at Christmas, waking up and just watching everybody show me all the gifts that they got. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like I got this, you know, or, you know, so it's finally something there. And I just took it for granted at the time, reasonably. And I paddled out to go surfing. I'm surfing with the other board that I had. And somebody comes up to me and they were like, hey, are you Sean? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, is that your dad up there? And I look up and my dad was staring. There was like this little boardwalk, but then you had to take like these long steps down to the beach. And he was standing up there. And I was like, yeah, he goes, he asked me to tell you to come like paddle back in. So I paddled back in and I was kind of like, what? But I mean, I'm a very observant person. So I already kind of like had an idea. And I got up the like staircase and I looked and it was like, he had this little Buick Rietta, and it's like the most rare car. I don't know if anybody knows what that is.
I know what that is.
Like a fully electric. I mean, it still ran off of a gas motor, like a combustion motor, but it was like everything on the inside of this car was touch screen, electrical, everything. I maybe see one every like 3 years. That's how rare this car was. And I think, I don't know if they took the picture down, but I think on one of the websites it had a picture of his car in front of it. But anyway, it was like this really small 2-door car, no back seat. And it had the flap coming down from the trunk, and I saw the board sitting in there. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Like, tell me you've ever seen one of those in your life. Like, that was the most random car. But it was like one of the biggest moments. And then I was so excited, but part of me kind of felt like crap because I was like, I just basically made him. Yeah. And his was like a blue, dark blue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But same rims, everything, man.
Oh, wow.
He loved that car. But yeah, so that was one of the great stories I could always tell. That just like that. Yep. That's funny.
Wow.
Bro, works quick.
Gotcha.
It never ran after him neither. It sat there. I sold it to my mom because my mom wanted it. And it had so many issues.
It's a collector's item now. It's a collector's item completely.
Yeah. I don't really know whatever happened to it.
Yeah, it's an antique at this point. It really is. Yeah, 21 years, it's an antique, right?
Yeah.
So what about your sister? Like, what's your sister's name?
Heather Davis.
And then Heather, did your sister have the same experience? Like, how was it different for her than it was for you? Or?
I think it was a little bit different. I think it was different for all of us. Just because I was younger. I'm the youngest out of all three siblings. My brother's 3 years older than me, and my sister's 8 years older than me.
Okay, so Heather and your brother is?
Yeah.
And
My brother is the middle.
What's his
And
name?
then Chris Davis.
So
Technically,
Chris and
James
Heather.
Davis. His middle name's Chris, but
Gotcha.
he goes by Chris Davis, but he's James Davis too.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, it affected everybody else. Like my brother's currently incarcerated, but I think he's in a rehabilitation center, like for just rehabbing. I mean, to get off, but he got in trouble and he's been in and out of prison. I think he's kind of got the mindset that everything is owed to him because I mean we have had an extremely unfair life. Don't want to put too much of his business out there like that, but I'm starting to realize a little bit of it, and I don't. It may frustrate me sometimes, but I don't blame him. I mean, I get it. Like things have not been fair, but I had to kind of turn around one time, and even my girlfriend would say, she's like, "Man, like I don't understand. Like you have like the worst luck sometimes," and I'm like, "You just got to keep pushing and keep moving in a direction because if you ever want or look for what's owed to you, you're never going to get it. Like you're never going to get what's owed to you.
If you keep looking for what's fair, it's never going to come.
Yes, nothing's ever fair. I mean, I'm sure everybody, you're dealing with it right now. I mean, you're never going to find it like that. And it's just, you either got to that's where you get to that crossroad. You're either going to go this way and you're just going to keep shooting for shoot for the moon to hit the stars or
right.
Yeah. But, and then, or you're going to go here and just be like, I'm just going to settle because this is the way things are. These are the cards that are dealt. And it's been a struggle. I mean, I'm 37 years old and I'm still just like trying. And it's always something that pops up. But all you can do is keep grinding and keep pushing in that direction.
So what about Heather? You said she had like a kind of a different experience.
I mean, again, the area I'm from is kind of just rough. And I feel like the longer you're there, she battled her own demons with drugs and stuff like that. So she seems to be doing a lot better now. She at one point gained a bunch of weight. She's lost a bunch of weight. She's working all the time. She's busting her butt. So I mean, it
was just different love for each one of you.
Yeah, I think that everybody was a little bit different. I want to say on my brother's side, I do think it affected him a little bit more because when they split up, he had 3 more years of like a perfect family. With me, it was kind of like I was still kind of figuring things out, and then shit hit the fan, and that was like most of my life. With him, I think everything was so good for a little bit longer that when it got taken away,
you felt it more.
Yeah, he felt it more. Yeah, best way to put it,
Rose, I want to ask him about, I guess, so your siblings, did they see Joe the same way that you do see Joe, or was anybody against that whole thing? And did your sister and brother, did they handle it? Because you were pissed, right?
Yeah.
But and you were worried, but were they more mad or less mad? Did they care?
I would say my brother was probably a little bit the most upset. I think my sister was the least upset. I think she didn't care really as much. I think that again, my brother, especially in the state we were in, and the area we were growing up in, I think he was more mad, just because he felt like it's kind of taking some from our manhood, maybe. And I think it was like it gave us more of a target on our back and stuff. And again, I think it's because he had 3 years of not that, and then
the time was different.
Yeah,
the time was different. Where now we accept it in the area where you're at. I mean, it's completely different and
time different, just time wise, and then on his growing scale as well. You know what I mean? It hit him right at 13 years old when he found out about it before me. So he may have been 13, but he may have found out about it a little bit later, But when they split up, I was only I think 9 or 10, and then he was 3 years older than me. And then I don't know if he found out on the day that they split up but I know he knew before I knew.
Did they like Joe?
Yeah. I mean, everybody we were, I think we were pretty nice with most of the interactions with any of them, but I think that once we left, there was some kind of resentment a little bit still, not towards necessarily Joe, just towards the situation. Joe always treated us nice, though. I mean, we came from nothing, so it was like we should go to see you and you're buying us clothes, you know. It's like,
Right.
all right,
I mean,
you know, we're not gonna be mean to you right
it's
now,
true.
you know. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I think my dad ended up moving my brother down to live in Myrtle Beach for, I want to say like a year. That was like a couple streets away from where he got shot, which was not a good area, but it was really all he could afford. And my brother still kind of wanted more at the time. I mean, just like me, it's like you get a little bit, you want more, you know. It's almost like you're trying to make up for the time before that, but we all have our reasons on why we reacted. And
Oh, absolutely. You guys are all different. So absolutely.
yeah.
So before we go further on to the deep side of the story, go
Yes.
ahead and
I need this. I need this in my soul.
I
I
need it in
sense a
my
lot. I
veins.
sense a lot of pain here. We have a lot of grief
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
hold on. Yeah, hold on. Don't let me hold. All right.
All right. Cheers,
Hey, this
everyone.
one's to Jim.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. One's for Pops.
One time for
Yeah.
Pops.
One time for Pops. And
Appreciate
Jim.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I was like coming on here, I was so nervous. I'm like, man, like there's no way that I'm gonna just be able to just talk without having like some type of wine. I was like, how can I like hide this?
You don't have to. Our
Bring it out,
whole
bring it
channel
out.
is true crimes and cocktails. So we
Yeah.
like to discuss this and have a few drinks amongst friends. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes when it's stories that we've done prior that, that have been either on Netflix or Hulu or something, we actually match a cocktail with one of the stories. So Sam does a pretty good job, and she comes up with some amazing cocktails that she'll come up with and share. Like, this is cocktail for the night.
yeah.
So in fact, we did. We covered Alex Murdaugh,
Yeah.
which is in South Carolina. And what do we do for that one?
It was a tea.
Oh, it was
Oh,
a
vodka.
sweet tea.
Yeah, sweet tea and vodka.
Nice, nice.
It
Yeah.
actually was pretty stinking good.
I
It was really good.
wish I could tell you more. I mean, I was a bartender for like 6 or 7 years, so out here, so I can sometimes help a little bit on some recipes. But I think I smoked way too much weed when I was a kid. All that stuff kind of blows right
I
out.
smoked way too much weed 5 minutes ago.
So it's like, I just I'm like, and my mom's memory is bad too, so it's got to be a little bit of both.
It's hereditary.
Yeah, for sure.
Got you.
But
Girls,
Yeah.
do you want to go into? Do you think it's about time we go into like that
Yeah.
night and like the evidence and stuff like
I
that?
was thinking that too. So I mean, obviously your dad was an amazing man. Yeah, he was a good father. He seems like he genuinely tried to make everyone happy.
yeah.
Kind of walk us through what happened the night of that he was killed, and kind of and then from there, what you found out initially, and then we'll kind of move on and what what you're doing now. So
Okay.
let's go through that night a little bit.
So the night of October, or it was the morning of October 23rd, 2003, at 3:30 in the morning, a cop was literally just there. And from my understanding, he was getting his coffee. My dad had like a really big reputation to everybody. My dad was a very like social person. He talked to everybody, joked with everybody, like the cops, everything, which is kind of a reason I would have thought that there would have been a little bit more care on the case. But somebody just filled their coffee up, left, and I think he said he got like 2 stoplights away, and then he got a call in saying that the gas station clerk was killed.
Oh my goodness.
Or was shot. So when he showed back up, like they did all their stuff, they were going through everything. I don't know where I really go from here. Like
You had mentioned that a regular had found him.
Yeah,
Right.
so-
like one of his buddies.
yeah, which I actually even have an add-on to that later, but like
Okay.
yeah. So somebody that he always used to talk to about like cars, like they would always come up. My dad's like one of those guys that like joke with you. Like, this dude always had different cars. So my dad was like, oh, what are you driving today? Or like, like must be nice, just giving him crap or whatever, trying to like dog his car or something, just always start a conversation. He showed up and which if they bring up the videos or if there's still videos there, it's the Hummer that you see at a gas pump that they're kind of like searching through and going through, which is another story too on top of that. But he pulled up in like the H2 Hummers, which in 2003, that was like an
Balling.
car.
Yeah.
Balling.
Like, I still want an H2 Hummer. I still love those things.
It's raw.
And so it's like that's like actually one of my favorite cars. But maybe not the maintenance, but all the other stuff. But he went in there, he went to the ATM to pull out some cash, and he was like looking around like, hey, where's Jim at? And so he was like, maybe he's like down there like restoring the cigarettes or something like that. So he walked to like the front, and I believe he wasn't even like done with like pulling the money out the ATM. He just kind of looked over and he saw stuff knocked down off the counter. So he was like, wait. So then he went around and walked around the bar or like the counter, and he saw my dad was like laying on the floor, and he saw some blood like on his back. And then he like went up to him. He was like, I'm calling the cops. I'm calling the cops. And so he ran out of the gas station. A guy was pulling up in a truck, and he got out of the truck. And I mean, people were still like in 2003. I think I had like a Nokia, like the one Nokia that blinks on the side. Not everybody had like the cell phone. I mean, not as much, but I'm pretty sure most people had cell phones at this point. So he asked the guy, he was like, hey, do you have a cell phone on you? And the guy was like, no, I don't. And just kind of brushed it off and walked straight into the store. So he ran to his truck to get his cell phone. And the guy went to when he ran in the store, two guys walked out of a single stall bathroom. So these bathrooms are not like multiple stalls. There's one toilet in there and one sink. And two guys walked out of there. They talked to the guy that came in from the truck, and they just like had a conversation as he was like walking back up to the store. They all three ran out and jumped in their cars and left.
Oh goodness.
So he went in there, called the cops. The cops came, and then eventually my dad passed. They said that they got the two guys that left the store or whatever, and they said the reason that they left without calling the police and they just didn't stand by is because they were drinking and driving and didn't want to get a DWI. They supposedly passed the lie detector test and all this stuff.
Were they in there in the bathroom when he was shot?
No, so I think they came in and saw he was shot.
Oh,
and discussed. Excuse me. They went and discussed like
what do we do?
Yeah, what do we do? Like, hey, we're drunk. Like, we're not supposed to be driving. The clerk shot, which obviously I'm a little bit biased, and I think we all know my thoughts on that. And I've went
in that respect, yeah. In that respect, like, nobody would care if they were drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and I get it. I mean, I've gone through issues with cops like my whole entire life. And I mean, for example, when I was on probation at one point, and I stopped because somebody flipped their car, and I wasn't supposed to be out past 9, and I helped the person, and I went to jail for it. So, wow. I get in a sense, but it's like they couldn't have, but they don't know that they couldn't have saved his life.
Right.
Like, leaving him there bleeding, like shot, concerned, like y'all went and decided like, hey, you know what? I don't want to get a DWI, or I don't want to like get in trouble. I mean, dude, just say that it's not your car and you just walked up there.
Right.
Or y'all got drunk in the car. Like, is there really going to anybody prove that you drove the car? You know, right. I get that bang, bang, bang happens a little bit faster than that, but you not wanting a DWI is potentially letting somebody else die.
Right, exactly.
So it's I don't know. I've gone through my moments. I have the police report. When my grandmother passed away, my aunt sent me all this stuff. She was like, I feel like you should have all this and kind of hold on to it. And I've went through my moments where I started looking people up on Facebook, license plates, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, to the point where I want to be like, you know that you let my dad die for your concern on getting a DWI. And I don't even know if that story really sits up to me, because like y'all call somebody else and he came up and had a conversation with y'all about it? Like, the guy that showed up in the truck that he asked for the phone obviously was only there to talk to them. Right. So y'all all three showed up, had a conversation, was like, hey, let's leave. Why this other guy is fighting time to get his phone out of his truck, to get somebody there to help. I mean,
were
dude,
you
they would have just called immediately. Maybe the person that shot him would have been caught, like running down the street or something.
Could have
It's
been.
$43. Either it was a cover up for him being gay and them wanting to go in there and kill him, or it was they really were a crackhead running around trying to get $43 and not James Bond. I mean, like, I don't feel like they covered every, you know what I mean?
I mean, crackheads will do a lot for
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
really
a
highly
lot.
doubt they go back there and clean their fingerprints and make sure everything. And that's another thing. The cameras didn't work. The emergency button didn't work.
So the cameras didn't work at all.
No,
The emergency buttons didn't work at all.
no.
Oh, that sounds a little
And I
odd.
settled out. So I was the only son that lived with him that was under 18. And I settled out with Pantry. My mom technically settled out with Pantry for like $110,000. And I got it when I was 18. I was already in a really bad spot. This whole situation threw me into a spiral that was already like unwound a little bit, but kind of tightening. And before I moved there, I lived there for a year and a half, started getting my stuff back together. He put me into like Sylvan Learning Center. I didn't really want to do it, but I was like starting to get better with my grades. I'll stop like fighting as much, and I was starting to kind of have a head on my shoulders and think about a future. And then it was taken away from me. So then I want to say it was within the year. No, it had been a year and a half. I was in jail for attempted murder.
Oh, wow.
Looking at life
Wow.
and it was on Father's Day, and that was like a big like boom because somebody was like, "Dude, today's it's Father's Day," and I was like, "What am I doing?" And it wasn't like I like attempted to murder somebody. It was like an old piece of trash dude was like beating on women and trying to beat up my friend's mom, and he was 15, I was 17, and we like were drunk and beat him up, and then we decided, hey, like since we're on this high horse, let's go beat the guy that jumped our friend up. And then it ended up being his dad and like all kinds of stuff. And it just turned into like, it looked like this big gang thing. It wasn't. The guy that we were getting attempted murder charge was in court he had 5 domestic violence charges.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to court.
That guy's always protected.
Yeah. And the woman sat right beside him as he was going to court for us.
Wow.
Like, I mean,
go ahead.
No.
I was going to read what the news had then, so we can kind of see what they were saying at the same time. But no, please go ahead, Sam.
No, Shauna, you had mentioned in your TikToks, it's not something that you consciously do, but you've noticed on like the day, like the 23rd of October or Father's Day or his birthday, you kind of black out, or things kind of happen where you may be more angry or irritable or easy to to get at. Do you think that is part of what would have happened or on that day when you got the charge?
Yeah.
You think it was like subconsciously you were like, it's Father's Day, I'm feeling shitty, this happened, it's easier for you to jump on it, or was it you were still just really raw in it?
If I'm being 100% honest, I do think in that situation, I was just still like really emotionally unstable.
That makes sense.
I think it was just like a really bad timing. I was like, and I mean, the people that it was for, like, they called me up because they knew that like I've always been a very protective person, and they called me up like, hey, like, Dylan's about to fight this kid. With the guy's name was Dylan. Dylan, the kid, he was like 15 years old. I was 17. They were like, he's about to fight this guy that's like 25 years old because he's trying to fight me, and he's already beat his girlfriend up. And she was like, I want you to be here to make sure nothing like happens. And that's kind of how it like turned into that. But I think that like just in a sense, so much like anger and hate that I had built up just turned into me reacting like too spontaneously. Now, I will say that like the biggest one, like on what you were saying about blacking out and stuff like that, is the craziest thing for years. For years, I could remember on the 11th. My dad's birthday is on the 12th. So y'all, those of y'all that don't know, I was born October 2nd. My dad was born October 12th. He died October 23rd. So it's like completely ruined the month. Like completely ruined the month.
Well, and you had mentioned maybe your parents split up on like around Halloween too. So October's a shit month for you.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know. But the even worse part is like, and this is, I know, a sidetracked again, but I'm kind of talking as it comes.
It's okay.
My last birthday, my 16th birthday, my dad hit up my friend Hugh from school and told him to let everybody know of a surprise birthday party at my house. And I guess Hugh didn't remember. And I showed up and my dad was like straight up in tears because I showed up to like balloons and like all things set up that my dad, again, we've talked about him only having like 2 hours of sleep. And he put all this work in and dude didn't relay the message. And he was like, I'm sorry. Like, this is supposed to be like a surprise birthday party.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So it's like, it just it's like, just turns into this rolling thing. But like on October 11th, every single year, I'd be like, tomorrow's your dad's birthday party. Like tomorrow's dad's birthday party, tomorrow's dad's birthday party. And as soon as that day would hit, even my mom, my sister, my brother would never like bring it up to me. And I would forget the whole entire day. And then I'd be like, yesterday was dad's birthday party. And it was every single year. And then one of the reasons, so I mess up a lot. I still try to work on myself. Like I'm always constantly like trying to be perfect. I'm far from it, but I'm always trying to like evaluate myself and be smart and just try to be a good person, because at the end of the day, I'm a product of my father, and he was like so much better of a person. I'm working and working and working to get there. But I went to the beach. I took my dogs there on this past October 12th. And I went there and like driving around, hanging out, and everything was good. I was like in a really good state, had the top off. The dogs were enjoying themselves. And whenever I go there, like that's one of the reasons I go there is to like do donuts and stuff like that. So I'm like, and I'm pretty like, I mean, like I'm pretty open about how I do stuff. Like I'm not going to, I'd never want to be a problem for anybody else. Like even with my neighbors, like our houses are really close together. I was power washing the fence and I went and told them, I was like, hey, do you mind if I power wash my fence? Cause I don't want water going in y'all's yard. Like that's the kind of person I'm like, I don't want to disturb anybody else's happiness, like at all. And I'm out there and I'll find like a clear spot further down the beach where there's like less like open or like less population. I'll go down there, I'll let a whole lot of opening, and I'll start busting some donuts and have fun. And
absolutely
doing that. And it just some reason it just hit. And like I like started doing a donut, and like in the middle of me doing a donut, I saw some guy with like his arms up like this, like, yo, like, and I'm like a football field or 2 football fields from this guy. So I started to drive off, and then just like my temper got a hold of me. I'm like, nah, hold up. Let me like turn around. Let me see what he was talking about. So I pulled up and I was like, hey man, you had your hands up. And he was like, he started, and this is like a big thing from where I'm from, is like, I grew up differently. I'm not going to let somebody come up and just grab my door handle or walk up and approach my car. And he started walking at my car aggressively. So I flew out and I was like, dude, are you really walking up on me? And I was like in his face, and like his wife was like sitting over here to the side. And he was like, look, man, you're like spinning dirt. And I'm like, tell me where the dirt hit you, bro. Tell me where any of this sand got to you. And I was like, and I just like went off. I was like, that's what I'm like. And I just kept going. I was like, you want to run your mouth? And I jumped, and he was like, no, like that's, and you could tell he was like, this is where I felt bad, is he kind of was like back, and he was like, no, like those were nice donuts. And it was just kind of really like really just all over the spot or all over the place when he was trying to talk. And I jumped in. I was like, that'll get you hurt. And then I drove off, and I got like maybe the same distance to where I was doing the donuts. And I was like, dude, you're a piece of shit. I was like, that was terrible. Like you just were acting like a bully. And I turned around and I drove up, and I could see it in his face. He's like, here we go, man. Like what's going to happen next? And I got out and I was like, dude, honestly, man, like I apologize. I was like I got a lot of stuff going on, man. Like I'm sorry, you know, like it doesn't make an excuse, but I was like, I apologize. Like you have all rights to be upset about me doing donuts if you got sand coming over here, and you should be able to like speak on that. And he was like, no, he was like, I'm sorry for the way that I went about it. And we just basically hugged it out. And he was like, are you okay? Like, what are you going through? And I was like, I'm good, man. Like, I'm sorry. And then I got in the car and drove off, and I called my mom, because I like, even that didn't make me feel any better. I was like I feel like a piece of shit, dude. Like that was completely uncalled for. It was like, it was Like it's I don't know. It's I don't know how I'm trying to think
You
of
were
it.
you were you were
okay.
vulnerable. You were vulnerable
Yeah,
at the moment,
it's completely
and
unacceptable. Like that behavior is completely unacceptable. And I thought that I was so much better of a person than that. Never thought that I was a great person. I've always tried to thrive, but I thought I was better than that. And it just made me realize that like you are not where you thought you were. And I called my mom and I told her, I was like, I'm like, this is what just happened. I feel horrible. And she was like, well, I mean, it's your dad's birthday, so like
You also
why?
it,
And I had no idea. Like I remembered it the day before, but it never even crossed my mind until she said that.
you're
And
going
then,
through a lot. It's
yeah,
brought a memory from the past that
yeah,
puts you in a bad spot, you know.
yeah.
sure did.
And then I went and got blood work done, and like I get blood because I go do like TRT. Like I do it legally. I go to a doctor. So
Right, of
they
course,
just
yeah.
think I'm all roided out of my mind. But I go to TRT and they do my blood work, which is a good thing because I like to have my drinks and stuff like that. So they check your liver enzymes, all this kind of stuff. They even found out that I was like borderline diabetic and stuff like that the first time I went there, and I was like, good to know, you know. So they caught that early. But he was like, dude, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to just like sit down and just like look at traffic. Like just take like an hour a day and just like focus on traffic. Like just clear your head, get out of your head, because I'd have to look at the report, but it's called like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically like it'll give you a stroke on certain numbers. And he said a normal number is like a 3 to 4.
Is it cortisol?
No, it's let me see. I got because my aunt was asking the same thing because he's like, bro, like you're like borderline like stroke. It's homocysteine, I guess is HOMOCYSTEINE. And basically,
Homocysteine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could thank God I would have stuttered on that for a while. He was like, dude, like your numbers, he's like the chart basically ends at 12. Like that's the highest you want to go. He was like 16 to 18 is where we worry about a stroke. You're at 23.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, you need to chill out, dude. And like my girl is like, are you worried or like, are you stressed out? I'm like, I'm always stressed out.
Yeah.
I think about my dad every single day. I think about all this stuff every single day. And that's what started that TikTok is I didn't realize how much like it gets worse every single year that it goes by. Every single year without me even realizing I'm fighting more demons. And you would think that it would go the opposite. Like you're like, all right, and you just kind of start to forget about it a little bit.
Well, it's unsolved. How can you
Yeah.
possibly reconcile it with it?
It's
And
not
it's so much-
closure.
Yeah, and it's so much misunderstood. Like I just don't like even outside of why the person did it, I still just don't understand. And it's like constantly things are brought up. And when that guy first, I mentioned to everybody earlier, I believe, about the emails, when the emails got brought up, I had to separate myself from that because within like a 14-hour or like a 20 or 48-hour radius, I probably was on Facebook and the internet for like 14 hours of that, just searching up any details this guy gave me. Like,
Okay. So let's back up a little bit. So because we talked about it
Yeah.
personally, but
Mhm.
let's let the viewing audience hear a little bit about it. So your dad was murdered. It's been unsolved. I mean, when did you get? You had gotten an email from somebody claiming to know more about it. Actually, can we?
Let's back up a little.
Can we put a pin in that real quick?
Good. That's true.
No,
Yeah.
I really want to get there. However, prior to that, didn't somebody, closer to the murder, somebody had come back into the pantry and told one of the clerks who presumably worked with your father that they the name of the person that they thought murdered your father, correct?
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So, I want to say it was maybe 3 or 5 years after, but we found out about it in I think 2011. We got brought back to WMBF, and they did like a cold case thing that they were bringing up, trying to get the flyer back out there, trying to like get people to kind of speak up about it. But when we got there, we found out that there was a guy that actually went into the store with another guy. Two guys went into a store. They hovered in a gas station for like 30 minutes, which has got to be really weird. Because I mean,
Right.
like, stands in a gas station for 30
Who
minutes.
stays in a gas station
Yeah.
that long?
So
Well-
one guy walks out and the other guy walks up and he walks to the clerk. And I believe the clerk worked with my father. I think she's a longtime clerk there. And he walked up and he said, I know who killed Jim Davis. And she was like, what? He was like, I know who killed Jim Davis. And he gave a name. And he turned around and walked out. Nothing happened. So he came back in, like, I think a couple weeks or a few weeks later, and came back in and was like, did the same kind of thing, didn't stay as long, but he kind of like hung around. And then he was like, I know who killed Jim Davis. He was like, why hasn't anybody said anything? I came up here. And she was like, why don't you go to the police? And then he turned around, he said the name again, and then he turned around and walked out. My issue with that is, at what point do you pick up a notepad and a pen and write it down?
I had the same thing because you had said it prior without saying that and in your TikToks. And I'm like, why the fuck didn't she write it down? Why?
Yeah.
How do you not remember? How is that
Like,
being told twice even? How do you go, oh, I don't even remember the name? I mean, now is she hiding something? I don't know. This is just my true crime personality
same.
coming out. Seriously. I was like,
Same.
why didn't you fucking write it down? Why didn't you call the cops right away? Why didn't why can't you remember a name that somebody tells you when it's that important? That would be something that would be burned into my brain. I'm sorry. I got a little emphatic about that for you.
Yeah. So she gets emotional.
I
which is
do.
fantastic. No, but that's a wonderful thing. Because she brings a Rose. Before I go into this, what are you making of Sean in general? What's going through your head? I see the gears.
So many things things is going through my head.
I know.
I'm trying to recap from the gas station to who was there. How come they didn't? How long did it take the police to get there? And when the police showed up, how long did it take it to lock everything down to get the evidence? Why wasn't the security cameras working? I mean, it's a gas station, for crying out loud. That's the number one place people go rob. Gas stations, liquor stores. I mean,
banks.
And when something goes down, okay, why? What's the reason? Was it because it was a small town? Is it because so many things are turning in my head that I'm just like,
I see that. Yeah. I saw you had things to say, but you haven't formulated the right. It's still going. It's still percolating in there. I see it.
And to even add on to that, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously we're going to have a little bit of favorite, because even with me, I'm like a big like documentary watcher, and I have my own, like, I'm biased because of my situation. But then with y'all, obviously y'all have a lot of care to that kind of situation. But I feel like anybody, even if somebody came up and told you they know who killed somebody that you have never met, never talked about or anything, you're going to write it down.
I'd be like, hold on, can you spell that for me?
Yeah, like, hold on. Yeah,
Right?
I'm not good at this. Hold on. Like,
I mean, somebody call fucking Crime Stoppers,
Yeah. Let me look his Facebook up. Is this the guy? You know what I mean? Like, something.
Right.
Or Google it. I mean, everybody Googles everything.
So
I'm
guys,
pretty sure she even knew my dad. I'm pretty sure she's a clerk. Like I said before, I'm pretty sure she's a clerk that worked with my dad. So how would that not have been sentimental to be like, I've been in gas station lines that have taken 30 minutes, me waiting on somebody pulling on their lottery tickets.
For real, scratching shit off. Yeah, for real.
Stop the line for a minute to write something down if you really cared that much.
Right.
Yeah,
I do have a question. When these cameras were down, did they have like a timeline? Like, was it a week prior? Was it the day before? Was it the day
No,
of?
I don't think they ever came out with, I think they just said that they weren't, like, they didn't work.
They
I don't
weren't
think they
working.
ever said they were just down for that, which, I mean, that's a very good point. That's not even a point. There's 21 years of thinking that, like, maybe somebody did something that day to shut. And I mean, which brings me back to Sam's point, is like, did the woman have something to do with it? Like, did the clerk have something to do with it? Because the cameras didn't work. I mean, only thing that I would have taken on the outside of that is that I feel like the pantry itself would have looked in and been like, okay, if the cameras didn't work for just the 24 hours, like, who's responsible for this? Because we're paying out money right now.
Right.
And then maybe somebody would have lost their job. But
Well, then a red flag would go up because
exactly.
What was the reason? What was it? Technical? Was it a wire that got snipped loose or something? So you start questioning.
Was it a money thing?
Yeah, the basis. You go down to the very basic, and then you want to know,
which I feel like wasn't even like has like we're talking. I feel like more than any of the detectives have talked. You know, like I
Right.
think that
Right.
they've talked to my grandmother from what my aunt said after he died, but like they haven't talked to me. They haven't talked to my brother. They haven't talked to my sister. I've called. I've like left messages. They're like, "Oh, go to this person." I called them, left a message. Nobody calls back. It's like, and that's another part that sticks it out. Is one part that stuck out to me, especially with the emails when we get to that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
one of the things he said in the email was that the reason that the guy wasn't caught is because his brother was a Myrtle Beach police officer then and still is. And
Oh,
when he walked out,
Oh.
he walked out when she said, why don't you like contact the police? Obviously, the guy is in there telling you who he said did it, and he's made it a point to come back again. And we're still not getting anything. You say the police, he walks out. They posted a
So
video of the guy walking around. He never turned himself in. He was never heard of again. And
so you
like,
as a child, did you hear anything as far as like people coming up to you as like, hey, I heard your dad, I heard this guy did it. I heard your dad
because
stuff like that.
my dad was the only one that lived there. So as soon as it happened, I moved back to my mom in North Carolina. So
Gotcha.
most of all my friends, I never really seen again, never kept up again. Facebook wasn't a thing then. So like I've only talked to, I think 2 since I've moved, and one of them I don't have on Facebook anymore, I think, because I think he just doesn't use it. And I only talk to my other friend Bruce like once every couple years. But nobody, like we were all one young, And
Have
then
you gone back to the place?
only for the when I went to WMBF, and then we had like a memorial thing. And that was like 5 years after, and then I think 8 years after was the cold case thing. But that's the only time I've been back. And I wouldn't even, again, maybe it's because I smoked a lot of people when I was younger, but I don't even remember half their names, like the people that I hung out with. So I wouldn't be able to help a whole lot on any of that. I probably wouldn't know. I don't know what street I would live on. I remember where I lived with Joe was Myrtle Beach Golf and Yacht, but I don't remember the other spots. But again, so here's another kind of side to it that really caught me, or caught my attention, is the guy that was in the store. Not saying that anybody wouldn't just do it, but the guy that was in the store walking around, to me, I haven't seen a video in years, like 13 years, I think, or so. But to me, what it looked like is a guy looked like a middle-aged, like middle-class white man that probably owned a boat. So what kind of
video is this? What
the one that where the
video?
guy walked around and then
The
went up
guy
to the
who
counter
said the
and said he
name.
knew who
Oh,
did it.
gotcha.
So it doesn't mean that he may not have like a crackhead robbing somebody for $43, but it seems kind of like he was scared of whatever situation, and he didn't look like maybe he was on drugs himself. He looked like he was like had a family, nice little house, stuff like that,
Maybe being blackmailed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
anything.
Or maybe
Yeah, like,
knew who they were, and he said, "You know what? It's best that I keep quiet. Otherwise, I'll end up that way."
yeah, and the thing that threw me on that too is that why would you be scared of somebody just robbing a gas station for $43? $43, even then, isn't going to get you anything. So is it really worth running for the rest of your life on a murder charge? At the end of the day, like, unless you have no conscience and no worry about anything in the world, like, you're going to worry for the rest of your life about getting caught.
Always going to be looking over your shoulder. I mean, no matter where you go.
Yeah. So the thing that brings that is was it really something else? Was there something else that somebody was there and they just robbed the $43 out of there to make it like a robbery?
Right.
And what I was going to
throw a curveball to you because I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
What if he robbed the gas station right out of maybe he needed money for his family or brothers or something, because the sketch of what you have on your TikToks, he looks like a fairly young guy.
Yeah.
Would that change any feelings towards him if you saw that side? Like maybe he robbed it and he accidentally, out of nervousness, maybe shot him or something. Would that change something for you?
Maybe not immediately. Maybe after I punched him in the face or something like one time. But after that, maybe just like thinking of what my dad would think, But it also has to be on how you went about it. Like if you just get caught and now all of a sudden you're pleading for help, that's a different story. Now, if you come in and you're like, hey, I've been living with this, I feel like a piece of shit. Like maybe then I can be like, all right, my dad would feel like feel this way, you know, like he would have taken his life to make somebody else happy. Would he have done it to make his kids go through what we've gone through? No. But now that it's done, what's done is done. And
yeah, from what you said about your father had this, I mean, if that was the case, had the man just said, "Hey, my family needs food," your dad would have been like, "Here, take it.
Yeah,
You don't need to shoot me."
It doesn't
you know?
matter. He had 21 years to come clean, and he didn't. So
Right.
it doesn't matter
I mean-
how. I mean, now he's just as guilty as if he would have meant it.
Yeah. And what to that point is that, like I was saying before, the guy that found him, he came to the viewing the day after and was just ripped apart, crying, bawling, like basically in my lap. And he was like, all your dad kept saying is, my son Sean, my son Sean's at home, my son Sean's at home. And that tells you right there, like his main objective was to like make sure I'm good and to be there for me. He didn't want to not be there for me. So like he would have given them, like he would have given them anything. He would have walked out the freaking store. I'm like, whatever, dude, it's like your store now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that they shot him in the back, they shot him one time in the back and it hit the main artery.
Oh, wow.
Would you mind if I, so for the listening audience, because we're also on Spotify, I'd like to read like from the perspective of the news and the cops. That way we can, you know, also people can understand that, you know, a little bit of what people were seeing. Like, was it on the news? Was it a big news thing back?
Yeah, it was on the news. I mean, then it would be really hard for me to remember as much, but like I know WMBF is the one I remember the most. I think that's the one guy.
That's the one I got pulled up. Yeah. So it says Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, family and police plea for answers in the murder of a 43-year-old Myrtle Beach man. If you ever had a chance to know him, you know, always remember him. He said Miriam Davis, the mother of Jim Davis, your grandma, right?
Yep.
Was gunned down and robbed while working at a clerk at the pantry at 3300 block of North Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach, California. Oh, sorry, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Back in right, that's the blunt talking. 2003. So, do you forgive someone that killed your son? They asked your grandma, and she said he had so much to offer, and no one gets to enjoy that, especially the people who loved him the most. Said Robin Taylor, your aunt, Robin. So it says that Myrtle Beach detective Tracy Chinaka, you know this person?
Yeah, it was the woman detective that she said she was a patrol or like just I guess like a regular police officer that used to go into the store. So she said it was like really close to her heart.
Okay.
So she was there before,
You would think because she was really close and knew, you know,
her and the other.
They would have took it a little bit more.
Her and the detective that's holding. I don't know if y'all seen that picture. That's holding the flyers when he's putting them in mailboxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's on one of those one of the forums. But that guy too said both of them were either partners or they were both just regular police officers that went to the gas station all the time. So they had like a personal relationship.
So she said that your dad had no, you know, clean record and no enemies whatsoever. And it says, quote, I've never heard anything negative about him. Many people frequented the store. In fact, I knew him as an officer going into the store. At that time, he was always friendly to everybody, recalls Chinaka. The Davis family can only hope for justice, which still has not arrived. And when the person commits this crime, they don't realize how many lives it affects permanently, says your Aunt Robin. So just a little bit more, and says, quote, he would have given the money out of the register, you know, he have bought them food. Yeah. Right. He would have bought him food. He would just kind of person that Sean Davis, Jim's son, who was just 16 at the time of the homicide. Jim's oldest son, James, was 19 years old at the time. So a little bit more, you know, like you said, he's a little bit, he's taken it a little different than you. He's internalized it different. He's older. Right. And of course, the color of your dad being homosexual was probably something that he just wasn't, you know, comfortable with. So he internalized it differently, which is probably why he's incarcerated at the moment. Just ended my dad's life like it was anything. And I'd like nothing more than to see him locked up, said James. And then Myrtle Beach Sergeant Tony Lever says that many crimes of this nature are solved through word of mouth. Just like you said, kind of spreads through the community. So I wanted to add that because it's important to hear what's going on in the street and how the reporters are you know, looking at it, because for example, in my situation, you know, the reporters were kind of poo-pooing Brandon, and they were saying they were trying to bring up anything, you know, because they know that the cops were in the wrong. It's a different situation, but it's important to look at the news at all times. Now I'm traumatized about it. So yeah, that's kind of like what I wanted to do. So people, especially in radio land, can understand, you know, where you're coming from. But
Yeah.
So now we've talked about the name being given. Still maddens me just thinking about it. I apologize. I'm really up in arms about it. But you know, for her not even taking time to write it down.
It's even a TikTok that you can hear me like go on my spill.
I know, you're like,
you know what? My bad. I'm done.
It's funny because
Have
you
a
had
good
mentioned
night.
it like twice before then, and I paused it and I was listening to it, and my husband's playing video games and whatever, and I was like, why the fuck didn't she write it down? And then you said it exactly how I did. You know, it two ones later after I was listening to it, I'm like, see, he even says it.
Yeah.
However, so when was it that you got the email?
So almost exactly, I'll bring it up right now. Almost exactly 2 years ago.
Okay.
I believe it was the end of November or it was December. I know I've got them in my searches. Let me see. The first one was so let me see. Oh no, these are me forwarding into people. Hold on. Let me see. The first one was that's December. I don't know how these things get out of work. I'm not really good with all this.
You're fine.
Email.
you're totally good.
I think I want to say it was December 2nd. Yeah, December 2nd.
Okay.
Of 2022.
Okay.
So I was here. I was personal training at the time at a gym called Alpha Land, and I would like train all in the morning, come home, eat, sleep, go back and train in the evening. So I came home, I ate, I knocked out on the couch for a good 30 minutes, and I wake up to an email that says, let me see. Let me see if I can find the first one. But it basically said, let me see. How do I get? Why is it? Man, I made my whole thing a mess. But it's like saying that they know who. He said his name and stuff, and he was like, "I know who killed Jim Davis. When I get home, I'll tell you more."
Oh wow!
And why can I know? Oh yeah. Oh no.
Now is this where you got the sketch?
Yeah, this is the guy that sent me the sketch and text messages and all kinds of things. And he was saying that, gosh, I wish this stuff was more.
Do you have the sketch?
Yeah. Let me see if I can. Would it be easier for me to send it to her, or do you want me to just put it up here?
So do you see that there's a little chat here that you can like actually cut and paste, and it says private chat?
Yeah, but I don't think I have them on my computer.
Yeah, you know what? You can go ahead and send it to me, then I'll send it to you, AC.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, that'll make it easier.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I got all these freaking folders of all kinds of stuff.
So they told you where this guy is living, right? This guy that in the sketch.
So he basically what happened is he told me, he was like, "Hey, my name is Gavin, I think." And he said he was a what do you call himself? Migrant, which is usually I hear like immigrant and stuff like that. But he said he was a migrant that worked for a guy as his butler, and that he like all the way through, so that I'm not trying to just remember in one email. Basically what he said is he worked for a guy because the guy had a stroke and he was like in a wheelchair, couldn't use the bottom half of his body. And he said that he basically overheard the guy and his cousin talking. They live in Ohio now. He said he heard the guy and his cousin talking and arguing about digging up a gun because the mom was getting ready to furnish the basement, or like remodel the basement. And the cousin's like, they don't like dig into the concrete. They're not going to find that. And they're saying basically what happened. The mom didn't know, the sister didn't know, but when they first moved there, the mom was building a house. So they buried the gun under where the foundation was getting put. Yeah. So he wanted him to dig it up. And he was like, you never said that. And he was like, dude, I have the text messages in my phone, my old phone. He was like, I can get them and show them to you. So then that guy was like, hold on, wait. So he went and he remembers seeing a phone in the garage or whatever. So he pulled the phone up, which is crazy because the pictures even of the phone, the screenshots, the battery's dead. It has no like service or anything. So it does look like it's a phone that was just brought up, which could have been like photoshopped and was like created to fit the phone or whatever. But they refer to my dad as Jim David or JD. And I think they say Jim at one time, but he was like, don't worry, dude. He was like, you're worrying for no reason. Nobody's even looking for him anymore. If anything would have ever came across your brother's desk, he would have let us know. So like you're tripping out for no reason. And that's what he was saying is he was like, I wish I could find this freaking sort this out. But basically he was like, there was two guys there. It was the guy, his employer and his cousin. And the only reason, which stood out to me again, because obviously my dad was gay and that was a question to me, but he said the only reason that he killed my father is because he recognized him. So he said he shot him, robbed him. And the only reason it was never caught is because his employer's brother is a Myrtle Beach Police Department now and was then. So anything that hit his desk, he got rid of, which is why supposedly he has the original sketch from the Myrtle Beach Police Department. He said that his brother gave him the sketch and he found the sketch because his brother was like, hey, I need to find this file. He had like a bunch of files or papers or whatever. He was going through it and he put out a sketch and was like, this looks like my employer. And so he like looked at it and then he started searching it. And then that's how he found like my stuff, my social media, I guess. And then he messaged me, emailed me on my, my like training email that's like linked into like my Instagram.
Right. That's public. Yeah.
But I also posted something not too long before that, like 2 months before that, about my dad, but it was only like, it didn't have cold case, nothing like that in it, I don't think. And it just had like a picture of my dad's grave because we went there and buried his ashes with his mom and his dad. So like instead of, because my grandma had his ashes, so then we just went and buried him with her. So there was like somewhere everybody could go see and have like memorials.
Did have you hired like a private investigator or?
No, I thought about it, and one, like, finances haven't been like the best. And I know how expensive that stuff will cost. We have looked into some, and there was a guy off of TikTok that was like a former FBI agent and stuff. And my girlfriend reached out to him and he said he doesn't know if it would really be down the alley of a private investigator, but he was like, he wouldn't be able to do anything because he's not licensed in South Carolina.
Okay, so you gotta find someone who's licensed in South Carolina.
Yeah. And I really just, I mean, I feel like there's enough to go in. Another thing about the email is it's an email. I searched the email like company. It's an email that's from like a German email base that's like non-trackable, like, or like
a dummy email.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So it's like you can't, it's secured. You'll never be able to find information on it. It doesn't have anything there. Let me see. I'm trying to find that first freaking email. But yeah, basically he was like,
is the sketch, can the sketch be found online still?
Oh, hold on. I can find it through here now. My bad. I got freaking bad ADD, man.
You're fine.
We got you. We got you.
We get it. I think we all have.
I'm asking if it's possible, because I have 100 sketches in front of me from, all from South Carolina, but I don't want to pull out the wrong one.
Yeah. I know I'm getting close to it because I'm looking at pictures of the text messages and right here. So let me save this and I'll send it to her real fast.
I had so many people, like a lot of people have gotten sketches in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. So the thing about this sketch too that I'll point out a lot about is me and my friend one night, we got on FaceTime and just like went through these sketches and like looking at every detail down to, I just sent it to her, I think so.
Yep,
but you'll see, like, even in the hairline where they're missing like pencil where it's like not as thick, like all that stuff is too detailed on like the picture that was posted. So the only sketch I've ever seen was the like obvious website like sketch. You know how it looks like it's like printed out or something.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only one I've ever seen until this guy sent me this. And then I'm like looking at it and I'm comparing like where the strokes of the pencil have missed like a little line and it's just a little duller, everything to the T. But then the really big thing I noticed is if you look at his left eye, it looks like he has a scar that goes down from his eyebrow into his eyelid.
Yeah,
I
I
sent it
agree.
to you on Telegram.
The original sketch, I was like, oh my God, there's a scar, which I've never seen somebody with that scar. So I'm sure that somebody, if they know somebody with a scar that goes down their eyelid, they would instantly know, oh man, that's him. Granted, he's 21 years older. He's still going to have that scar.
Okay. Just want to make sure you got it.
And I mean, to be fair, that looks very authentic. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? But, however, I mean, did they hack something and find an actual picture of it? You know what I mean? Scammers are going to, do something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if AI is pretty good. Apps are great. I mean, I don't know if I quite believe that. But it could be a hacker getting into, let's play the long con here. You know what I mean? Like it feels like they were doing a long con on you.
And another thing, well, and that's another thing that set me kind of into more curiosity is they stopped messaging me. Like after, like once I was like, dude, like I just wanted the gun. He was like, all right, like if I get to a place that I like feel safe enough to tell you more information, I'll reach back out. And then he never talked again. And I'm like, somebody to build that much work up,
right? And
then just be like, yeah, all right, sorry, yeah.
Did have you had any new information recently come to you, or anything?
Nothing.
Just kind of dry, cold.
Yeah, it's been cold. Like I said, I reached out, and then with Alma, the one that reached out to y'all,
Alma Rose,
her reaching out, she got a hold of WMBF, the ones that did the original, the one that he was reading from earlier, that did the cold case, the videos, stuff like that. She Ashley, I believe, reached out from their reporter, and she told me that she's doing an interview with the detectives today, so she should have already done it. Okay. And then Monday she's going to that's the sketch that he sent me, which if you put them side by side, they're like identical. And then I'll send some of the text messages. I have to keep going in and like saving them because I know I have them on here somewhere, but I want to send some just so y'all can kind of look. And then this is like a little bit of an idea of like what it looked like, I guess. Let me see. So these are the two of the text messages. I didn't even read which ones they are, but they refer to him as, they're like literally talking like about the doctor's visits and stuff like that and picking him up. And then let me see, that one may not even have anything of my dad in it. So let me see, the other one does. But it gives you some clarification that they're actually just talking about normal day. Yeah, the second one does. And his name was Johnson. So I guess that's his first name, the cousin's name. But yeah, I mean, it's like if you put that much work in and that much time in, like, do you really just stop?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. One would think maybe they're gonna pop up another time too. You know what I mean? Who knows? Now, with cold cases, is there anybody working on it in Myrtle Beach? Is there something? Have you been in contact with the police there? As of late, is it something that they're willing to continue to do research on? Or
so I did email a guy from Myrtle Beach Police Department before I talked to the reporter, and he said the case is been given to retired detectives or something like that works their cold case division.
Okay,
and I think in 2013 or something like that. Because I always, like, every single month I type his name in, I type Myrtle Beach Police Department, I type cold case and see if anything's brought up. And they said a new sheriff was bringing up cases, and that was one of the three names he like listed.
Oh, good.
So, but then nothing else. So
yeah.
But like I said, that's one of the messages. This is the one. Yeah, you can see how he refers to him as JD. The gun needs to be dug up. He even sent me videos of a basement, and then he sent me pictures of the same basement dug up. So,
can I read this out loud? So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So it says from Johnson, right? It says my appointment with the doctor is by 2 p.m. Come on time. I will be on time. Are you so which one is who's who?
So
In the
Johnson that he's texting, the blue is supposed to be the killer. The
Right.
Johnson is the cousin that was there.
Got it. So in the blue, are you still coming to see Emily?
Emily, I believe, was his sister because his sister,
Gotcha.
they live with his sister and mom, I think.
So he says, I don't think I can make it down there. Busy with work. I will come around during the weekend. Then he responds, okay, I'll let her know. She shouldn't be around until the week. She wouldn't be around until the weekend. Why the hurry? I would give her a call later on today. All right. And then it goes on to share this one, right? So we'll do this. We'll share. Oh, we'll share the screen window, which is this new one, I believe.
And for people who are listening on Spotify, these are text messages he received from an anonymous, pretty much, you could say, person.
Yeah, an anonymous email.
Right.
What'd you do with that?
I need to do this again. My apologies, guys. This is under pressure.
You're fine. You're fine.
I have to like download it.
That's for sure.
Download it, the whole shit. So, all right. So we'll just do the whole screen here. So here it says, oh, it's the same one. Wonderful. Okay.
There we go. No, that's it.
That's a different one.
Right. So why the her? I'll give her a call. All right. And it says, we urgently need to see her. Renovations begin soon. JD's gun needs to be dug out. Come with the tools as you come during the weekend to get it dug. The house should be empty. Mother is going to be with Emily. I could give Philip a day off. You know, that's a lot of work. Breaking the concrete isn't going to be easy. So it's under the concrete.
Yeah, and Philip Gavin is supposed to be the name of the guy that's sending me this.
Got you. And it says, you know, this is not going to be it's going to be a lot of work. You can't do that alone because they have to break concrete to get to the gun, right? It's unnecessary. It's necessary we get it done. My brother isn't happy that I still have the gun under our mother's roof. Why would he say that if you're trying to? What an idiot, right? Like
never put it in writing. Never
right?
Writing, especially. I mean, no way. And it says under our mother's roof, even without the renovations happening. Like he might as well have just signed a confession. You know?
Now with this, you gave it to the police, and what do they do with all this?
No, so I never gave that to the police because I reached out, and then I mean, I can't. This is where I was on a balance. Like, if he's working there, then it's gonna delete everything I just sent him. And then part of me, which I know this is like stupid, but part of me actually cared about if this dude is telling the truth. I don't want something to happen to him because that was his main concern. He was like, I don't want them to come after me. They're already going to be wanted for murder. And if the cop finds out that like I told or I'm the one that's doing this, then like they're going to come after me. It's not going to be anything for them to kill somebody else, you know, so to hide and protect themselves. So I was worried about that for a while. And then I was just kind of like, whatever, you know, and I ended up finally like talking about it a little bit, but I was still really cautious about it because I didn't want anybody else to get hurt. And then I guess, I mean, the big part is he eventually asked for money, but it's still, I mean, you just don't know how much somebody actually does know, especially for the amount of information that was like sent off of some of this is like, I mean, if I can find the one, and I know that it's getting kind of late, but if I find like the first one that he sent, maybe I can screenshot two sides of it. So you can, like, this guy sent me this huge like paragraph. The first thing that he was actually giving me any kind of details, just going into like, it was him, his cousin, like his brother is a Myrtle Beach police officer. They moved here with their mom or with his mom. Afterwards, her and the sister, they moved with the mom and the sister. Neither one of them has any idea about anything. And like just getting into it, he killed them. There was two people in the gas station. So which kind of struck a nerve to me because that's not something that's in any of like the news. This is in a police report, that's why I know. Mm-hmm. So, but they were supposed to be white, and he said this is a black family. So that part, but there's no like names or anything of the people in the police report that were the ones that were questioned. Mm-hmm. And then even came out and said that they caught the suspects like instantly, and they brought him in. So the guy was like, I don't want to sidetrack too much, but just to kind of let you know, I've thought about this for a long time, and I had the guy's like information, and I kept searching it, but I eventually called like 3 weeks ago the guy, and this is like just found him on Google, didn't know if it was gonna be him, but I called the guy that found my father. And I called him up. I said, hey, I was like, is this, let me find his name, because I saved his number and everything. But I was like, I want to say it's like Steve Laskowski, I think. Let me see. Steve. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. Hey, hold on 1 second. Let me grab the paper.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay. No worries.
So
Wow.
this is quite a story.
Insane.
It is quite a story.
It's crazy to hear it from the person's mouth, huh? From like the perspective of him. I had no idea that, like, I really wanted to get into his backstory because, man, first of all, your dad sounds like an amazing person, but like the way it happened doesn't jive with me. You know what I mean?
It just there's too many open doors that are, do you know what I mean? Like there's so much that's like kind of open and there's no answer. Like there should be an answer, but there's not an answer, and
people want to have to say
the math doesn't math, as people say.
Yeah. Nothing adds up.
So the guy that found him, his name's Kevin Sumskowski. And so I looked his stuff up. I've looked it up every years, and I always just kind of wanted to talk to him just because of how heartfelt he was when he talked to me. Like he was like ripped apart, like basically crying, like head down on like my knees, basically like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, stuff like that. And so I called him and I was like, hey, I was like, is this Kevin Sumskowski? He was like, it is. And it was like 9:00 at night here. I don't know what time it was with him. And I was like, hey, this is a really weird question. I was like, did you find a convenience store clerk like shot? And he was like, Jim Davis. And then it like, boom. And he doesn't even live in Myrtle Beach no more. And he was like, this is really weird because I was just telling somebody about this story and how unsettling it was for me. He was I feel like it was never handled correctly. He said, even when the news, that's why I was saying his Hummer was like posted on the news, like videos of them searching it. He was like, even that was like just kind of misleading because that's my Hummer. And he was like, the only reason they were in my Hummer and any video about my Hummer at all is because I went to the police station. I did my report. My his brother-in-law or somebody took him back to his car and he just needed his car charger. So he asked if he could get his car charger out of the car. And they sent a police officer to go to get the car charger out of there. And that's the video of them searching.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I feel like they were trying to make it out. And that's when they posted, while they're searching the car, they're like, the suspects have been caught. So then he came to the viewing and he sat and he was in like his aunt's car or something. And he was like, I was sitting in the car, like worried that like maybe y'all thought that it was like me. And I didn't want to go in, but I wanted to like pay my respects and stuff like that. And he was like, so I sat in the car and he was like, I believe that it was your grandma that came up and was like, hey, are you going to come in or what? And then I came in and that's when it happened. But he was like, the whole story just felt like even his sister called him and was like, did you do this? And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, he's like, are you serious? Like, I would never do something like that. But we had a really heartfelt like talk on there. And he was like, I'm so glad you called me. It seems like you're doing great. Like, I'm sure your dad's so proud of you and stuff like that. But if you don't mind, I want to take it one other angle. So what I was going to say earlier is when I was talking about the guy that was walking through the gas station and what he kind of looked like and like his, I guess, profile would look like is a guy when we were still living with Joe, our neighbor behind us, me and my friends were walking. There was like a golf course behind us. So we were walking through like the ditch line through the back of it, like behind his yard, not even technically in his yard. And the guy came out and started just yelling at us and screaming at us. And it was like this kind of redneck dude. And we went in and we were supposed to go somewhere and we told my dad. So then we drove around the corner and the guy was standing in his yard and my dad like got out the car and like my dad was like 6'2". I don't know what it says his height and weight. It was here, but he wasn't necessarily a small guy. And he went and just started. He was like, if you ever yell at my kid again, and the guy wouldn't say nothing. Like, it just basically put the dude in his place. And I'm sure that would sit well with him. Well, after me and my dad moved out, he put antifreeze in a dog bowl thing, or like just a bowl, and put it in the back of his yard so that our dogs would go over there and drink it and kill the dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
All
God.
right. Okay. All right.
Oh my God.
No.
So, and what do they usually say? The first sign of like a serial killer or a killer is when they start killing animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I told the detectives that when we went there, I was like, that's the one person I would think about, especially after I saw that video, because they look like they were like in the same friend group. They literally look like they live the exact same.
Wow.
That blew my mind.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So, I mean, first of all, you're going to hurt some dogs. We're going to have problems.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and it was the youngest Yorkie.
No.
Fuck.
She was a baby. Sweetest dog in the world.
Jeez.
I'm having a tough one with this one. Maybe because Sean's here, but I'm having a tough one. You know?
Wow. And did the police question them or any like?
Not that I know of. I told him, I said where he lived and everything. I was like, I didn't know his name, you know?
Right, of course.
But he's literally that guy you would think of, a middle-aged white guy that's middle class that owns a boat.
Yeah.
Little
You know
guy.
what I mean?
Yeah,
The guy that did the antifreeze.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Well, it's probably, what was it, 21 years ago? How long ago was the antifreeze?
21 years ago.
So you're thinking he's probably done, right? He's in an old folks home somewhere?
I'd hope not. I'd hope that it would be, I mean, if he was in his 40s or 50s even, he'd be 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe like 75.
40s, and he still has to deal with it a little bit.
Yeah, if he was in his 40s, he's in his 60s now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully he spends, if it was him, hopefully he gets a little bit of prison time to die in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in any case, if he's not a sociopath, then every day he has to live in that prison in his mind, you know? So I don't care how strong you are, how crazy you are, you still live with that shit every day.
And the other point on that is that, you know, I mean, like I said before, there's a lot of people that do hate gays out there, and maybe he's just like, I did like one of those hate.
I did the Lord's work.
Almost like the white supremacist type, you know what I mean? That like goes out there and they're like, I don't feel bad, like, you know, especially because he just got punked out by a gay guy. So so pride is in it too, and like you know, the prideful shit, and it sounds like a movie. Honestly, like it sounds like the life and times of you know, someone who had it like the worst deal ever. Was like, you know, he loved too much, he worked really hard, he loved his family, he wanted everything to be okay, but he was homosexual in the wrong place in the wrong time. And no matter how much love you have, you know, in your heart, nobody sees that. They just see in that, and I hate to say it, I've been in North Carolina a lot of times and in South Carolina, and I think they're lovely places, but there are some places that I can't, you know. I used to have a beard down to here. I used to have long hair to my nipples, and I stopped in North Carolina going up to college one time, and I saw the Confederate flag, and a dude looking at me, and I was like, all right, you know what? I don't need gas that bad. You know what I'm saying? I'll just go somewhere else, because he's like, nah, you're not coming in here, bro. You know, and if y'all seen from them pictures, my dad is very dark skinned as well. So I remember I was actually telling my cousin, because she lives in Greensboro now, and I said the only thing I remember about Greensboro is me and my dad were going somewhere, me, my dad, and my brother, and we stopped at a restaurant or a rest stop, and there was like KKK stuff everywhere. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable, because even with me, like when I'm going to the beach, like I get pretty scarred, like pretty dark complected, you know, you don't know. And I was real young at the time. You just get worried if you're at the wrong place, the wrong time. But like where I'm from in like Myrtle Beach is definitely adverse, I guess you could say. Like it's where I'm from is definitely mixed. Like I've never grown up with any kind of hate around me or anything like that, or like our whole neighborhood everybody was mixed. Nobody talked about anything other than like, you know, it was just that area, you know. Ours was just ghetto, I guess you could say, just drugs and overpopulated because it's by a big base called Camp Lejeune. And
Camp Lejeune is a huge military base.
It's a really, really small area, and it's extremely overpopulated. So what is the military comes in, they bring their wives that are in college or better fitted to work at like the coffee shops, the little stores and stuff like that. So then the people that live there don't really have anything to do but rob, steal, and do drugs. And then you got the beach. So drugs usually add to like what you see in your atmosphere. So a lot of people that usually near a beach get all kind of hopped up on drugs.
And poverty brings a mix of people. It's a horrible thing, but also it's a great unifier because everybody's going through the same shit. You know what I'm saying? So like we don't have time to worry about if you're black or gay or whatever the fuck, separate. What it is we got to eat and survive. And that brings people together, believe it or not.
Yeah. And I've been, and how you're kind of saying about it, like where I'm from it is just a shitty area, and it's such a small town. You run into everybody, and it's always just anger. And the only thing people have to talk about is like, oh, I punked somebody out at the gas station, or oh, I fought this person or something. I've been back there 3 times since I moved in 2012 here.
Fighting's free. That's why fighting's free. So I think you guys want to put a pin in it here.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and do you have any final words to go on, Sean?
I mean, no. The whole point of this. I want to thank y'all. Like, this is the first podcast I've ever. Not even just for the case. This is the first podcast I've ever done in my life, and y'all made this like the most relaxing. Like, I could talk all day on this. I thought I was like really just gonna like hate doing this. I thought I was gonna break down a little bit more, but y'all are really, really good with the way that y'all operate things. Y'all have me prepped up for this to start with. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the whole reason I did any of this is just to get some type of answers. And I know that some people are like, oh, that sketch isn't that good. That's the only thing. Is like if somebody sees something, if it's a real sketch, then somebody will come forward. But maybe somebody just knows of the situation, sees this podcast, sees the TikTok or something, and they're like, you know what? It's time. It's been 21 years. Because even just not the murder, there's somebody that knows.
Right.
Absolutely. There's no question.
This is haunting them. So it's like, just set yourself free a little bit. Get a little bit like, I'll accept it. I understand like of people not talking. Like I said, I grew up in the ghetto. It's like snitches get stitches. I get that, dude. But like, this is not that kind of case. This is not somebody that bought into that atmosphere. This is somebody that was helping the community. And they, like you were saying earlier about your friend, like this is somebody that y'all took away from the world that would have made the world a better place.
Much better. A light that people, some people are a beacon that other people gravitate to. He said he was a social butterfly, that the dude was always talking to people, giving the shirt off his back and that's the way he's really remembered. Like if no one has an ill word to say about him, then he's going to live forever. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I'm so sorry that you had to go through this, man.
Thank you. And before I forget, there's the one other thing is I watched this show called See No Evil. I don't know if y'all have ever seen it. It's like on YouTube TV and stuff like that. They have like freaking, I feel like 1,000 videos. But I did see one time when I posted about it, and I don't know if this is me just searching for answers, but there was a serial robber in Raleigh that was caught that over like a 6-year span, I guess, was shooting and killing people. And like the one thing that stood out for me on that is the first case, and the case that it was about the most because he was caught on camera, was how he just shot the woman after like she gave him everything. He cold-bloodedly shot her. He staked out the place. She opened the door at like 5 o'clock in the morning. He ran up, got behind her at the gun, like with a gun, brought her in there, had her on the floor, robbed the whole entire place. She couldn't get in the safe. She didn't have anything else to offer. He shot her in the chest, killed her, and then ran out. And then they found out that he's done this multiple times. He's killed multiple people. He has no conscience. But I think he's been locked up to like since 2008, I believe, which could be a way. But when they showed the sketch of the guy, let me see if I can pull it up. At least when they showed the video of the guy with the mask on, I don't know if y'all can see this, but it looked a lot like the eyes of the same guy.
Kind of.
And again, I don't know if this is just me searching for answers or just everything, but like I already kind of felt like I gravitated towards it about how ruthless and unhuman the first kill was. And then when I saw this being the screen picture of his eyes, I was like, that looks a lot like these pictures. I even put them side by side and had them posted. And a lot of people were like, wow, that does have a lot of the same. But
you're not reaching, man. You're trying to make sense of it, and it's completely normal. because
Absolutely.
somebody took your
Yeah.
father that you love dearly, and he loved you too. So
Thank you.
absolutely. I would say anybody watching. So first of all, we're going to cut this up like we usually do, and we'll send you the raw video so you can post your, stuff on your TikTok of this podcast. And everybody, please follow Justice for Jim 1023 on TikTok. That will be a big thing. Check out his series. Make sure you follow him, like it, share it around.
Repost it.
You never know. I mean,
and I do want to say, like, I apologize. I felt really bad about sometimes I space out and I don't post as much, but like whenever just talking about it and doing stuff, it does take a really, really big toll. And it just turns into like, I noticed that I start being a little bit more like aggressively towards my surroundings and other people. So I kind of have to step back a little bit. So I do apologize if there's days that I don't post or I take some time off. Just don't hate me for it, but
Don't apologize for that.
No,
You're taking care
Never
of yourself.
apologize.
I mean, you have to take care of you first. And if this is aggravating and puts you in some sort of way, absolutely take a step back when and because you know who you are. I think you're really brave to do this. I think I thank you for coming on our show. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
If you have any updates or if we hear anything or if we can do anything, please let us know.
thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
absolutely.
And
And
also-
I'm doing an interview on Monday, I think a Zoom call with the reporter for the WMBF, and then I'll keep y'all posted on all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yes.
If you record that, we'll update everyone and play that. so people
Perfect.
can see
Yeah.
that, okay.
Absolutely. And also I want to say a big shout out to Alma Rose. Thank you so much for connecting us and
She's
putting
the
us
bomb.
together. She's awesome. Follow her
She's
on
awesome.
TikTok. She's always has updates on everything. So I'm always in the middle of the night looking at her stuff.
And she even goes beyond and beyond and beyond like that. Like she's reached out to the Myrtle Beach Police Department for me. She's the one that got a hold of the reporter. She's tagged everybody in my stuff. Like I wouldn't even be on this podcast right now if it wasn't for her. She's an amazing person. And she dealt with me, I think it was last Saturday, in DMs, just kind of going through it mentally. And she walked me through and just kept everything cool. Very good person. So
Very
Yeah.
good. And
Everybody follow.
we're always
Alma.
open if you need anything, and just a vent, we're always here for you.
We are.
And anything you want to come back on, our doors are always open. So come back anytime and let us know what's going
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
And whatever we can do to get the word out there for you.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
appreciate it.
I'll send over my personal DM so you can, if you ever want to talk, man, I'm down.
Yep.
I'm here for you.
Thank you so
Alright.
much, y'all.
You
This
got
is
it, man.
amazing. This is so much better than I thought it would be.
All right,
We
hang
won't bite,
tight.
we promise.
Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next Friday to recap what we've done in the whole year.
Oh yeah, no,
And-
we have our. I'm sorry, Rose. We have our. That's a big announcement. We have a New Year's recap of the entire year we've been doing stuff. We're gonna play like old
Yeah.
episodes. What?
Yes.
What?
We've done this for a year.
Yes.
Amazing.
This
Yeah.
It
is
is amazing.
Y'all put up with
Yeah.
us.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And I think we're about 4 away from hitting 500, I think. I saw.
Yes. 3?
So we're almost 3 away.
Awesome.
So guys, help us out before the year ends. It was our goal to hit 500 on our YouTube page. Please go ahead, click that follow, like, and share anything.
y'all are
And
probably gonna
help us
hit
get there.
500 tonight.
Oh, so
So shameless
We're
plug.
always one YouTube short away from 10,000 followers.
I know.
One YouTube short.
Shameless plug. The How Was Your Day will be back next week.
Yes.
My husband and I, Dave, do a show on Wednesday nights. It's really fun and lighthearted. If you want to join in, Sean, you can just listen. It is the Married Couple Podcast with underscores in between. We are on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time.
fun.
But I was feeling very ill this on Wednesday, and so back at it this next Wednesday, and so it's gonna be great. And
Awesome.
and in April we'll be taking our show on the road and doing a show in Perth, Australia.
Australia.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're gonna throw many shrimps on the Barbie.
Yeah, hopefully.
Just a
I'm gonna
little
try
bit.
kangaroo.
So
I don't
with
know.
that
At any
said-
rate, yeah,
We're gonna
but
go visit our old friend Rock Steady, when I used to do a podcast with, and
Yeah.
the Australian Joe Rogan.
yeah,
Yeah. Excited to be a part of it.
it's gonna be fun.
Right.
Awesome. So with that said, good night, everyone, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Peace.
Sean. Hit it.